Characters and voice actors. Sae Iwata, played by Minoru Fujidera. Sae's younger sister, played by Wakana Kuramochi. And then played by Akira Sakine, Sae's even younger sister.
Yep.
Hello, welcome to So We're Watching That, Right? A podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
And the only ethical weeb.
Oh, shut up.
Somebody called Val that yesterday, and
Today, I woke up to that.
Incredible. We've hit the midpoint of the season, more or less. And some of these shows are really starting to pop off. And sometimes that means juicy drama. And sometimes it means wild nonsense. Like A Star Brighter Than the Sun, episode 6, finally sort of getting them moving towards going out, kind of, maybe?
There are so many asterisks on that fucking statement.
Sae asked Koki to go and see a movie with her. Or, like, to take her with him to go and see a movie that he wanted to see. Mm-hmm. So we're watching this one with the dub.
Mm-hmm.
So they call the movie Spidey Man in the dub.
Because that's the name of the thing.
We'll get to it. But anyway, because it's Spidey Man, Koki's like, well, okay, but this is the latest one. You have to see the other, 7 movies first.
Yeah.
And at one point in the episode, Saya is seen watching one of these movies and analysing which of the love interests in it she thinks Koki is into or is likely to be his type.
Yeah.
And getting it wildly wrong.
Yeah.
I have seldom wanted to just grab a character by the lapels and shake them as hard as I want to shake Say in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they also do the play in this episode because everything happens and it's going well. And then Sae spots that 3 lads in the audience have crept forward to try to take a creep shot on Sui.
Mm-hmm.
And so she lunges after them and falls over, and Koki helps her back onto the stage. And later, after the play in the corridor,
The senpai in question are mouthing off about it.
yes,
And Koki overhears them.
Koki overhears them and gets in a fight. And, he kind of has anger issues.
Yeah, specifically related to people bad-mouthing his crush.
Well, bad-mouthing his crush and also, being misogynistic jerks. But yeah. And this time he actually got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting given that in the second episode where he literally kicked a guy down a hill, no trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the fight doesn't go entirely his way. It's not clear how they actually ended up, but he's in the infirmary getting lectured by a couple of teachers, and Sae hears about this and rushes to go and explain, and is standing in the doorway waiting for a chance to interrupt when a classically beautiful girl steps in past her and does the exact defense that she was going to do, and Sae looks at them both and goes, oh, this must be Koki's crush that he thinks is too good for him because she seems perfect.
Yep.
And then there's an after party, and for some reason Koki can't make it on time. So Sae is just kind of sitting quietly in the corner, watching other people have fun and telling herself that she doesn't need to have fun herself. And Ayukawa, the guy who wrote the script for the play and made Sae one of the prompters, comes over and they start chatting, and they have they clearly have a lot in common, similar vibes, they're getting on well. And then various people start teasing them about maybe they should start going out. Mm-hmm. And Koki turns up in the middle of that because there is no amount of horrible awkwardness that this show will not subject me to.
Yep. There was also a bit where, what's his face? The annoying one.
Yushin.
Yeah.
Why of all things can I remember Yushin's name?
Because you're the one who hates him more.
True. I am channeling the power of being a hater.
Yeah, there's a bit where he's like, oh, are you two going out? You two should go out. And Iwa just locks in and goes, I don't like the way you're teasing me. Please stop. And her hand starts glowing and he backs off.
I'd forgotten about the fucking charge attack.
It's so good.
Just the incredible moments of surrealism that you can just do in an anime.
Yeah.
It's yeah, of course she can power up her fist. in this otherwise completely non-supernatural story.
Yep. Everything for the bit.
Anyway, after the party, they're going home, and they are all on the same train, and everybody else gets off the train, and Koki and Sae are going to the final stop or whatever, or getting off last.
Mm-hmm.
And the sequence is, Koki asks Sae why she was at the infirmary, and she talks about how Subaru beat her to the punch on defending him, and she says something like, I wish I could be more like her, and Koki just twitches hard and is like, no, don't be like her, she bullies me all the time. Which,
yeah,
I guess Koki is having a similar issue to Aki from Imouza, and not understanding that means she likes him. But anyway, they do agree to see the movie together, and each of them makes it clear that they would rather go with just the other than with a large group, which is still not a confession.
It's really not.
But
it is like half a step forward.
Yeah. Honestly, this is like, fuck it, I'm just going to say this. This is British dating. Right? You make plans to spend time together and see how it goes, rather than having a whole bunch of like formalities and declaration and shit first. And I feel like it's a better system in real life, but in a story where I'm invested in the characters and the slow burn is burning.
Yeah, that slow burn should redo. Sure is working on you. It's very effective.
Sure be doo.
Yeah, I'm fucking tired and not in a good mood today. Don't fucking mess with me today.
These shows are messing with me enough. I've got to mess with something. Speaking of messing with something.
What the fuck is up with Yano-kun?
So many things are up with this show. Like, we had the confessions last episode in Yano-kun's Ordinary Days. And in episode 7, they have agreed that they're in love. Both of them understand that they are in love with one another, they like each other, and neither of them knows what to do about it. Kyoko is at home, and her younger sister is teasing her younger brother because her younger brother got confessed to. And Kyoko is, like, talking to them about dating in general, and gets the impression that her younger sister knows more about romance than she does. And asks, and the younger sister says, let me bring over my friend who knows a lot about romance, and you can talk to her. And her friend Miyu calls herself the Love Master, but learned everything she knows about love from shoujo manga.
Yep, which is just the premise of a different show. I could literally show you that show if you wanted.
I very much want to see that show. But also, it's worth noting that is also this show, because that's how Yano got us into this mess in the first place.
Yep, this is also true.
And Hashiba's punishment for enabling this is that he has to be the one that Yano turns to for advice about what to do with Kyoko. And he suffers so much, the poor boy. Like, having to be Yano's dad without that involving being Kyoko's wife. Husband. In my lexicon, there are only wives.
I know, but also, we're having a real fucking rough and tumble day today, huh? We are fucking 10 minutes in and we've already made this many flubs.
I got my blanket out to keep myself warm, wrapped myself in it like an hour ago, and immediately fell asleep at my desk. It's just that kind of day. Why has Yano never had a burger before and never been to the movies before?
Surely the hospital has fucking burgers. He keeps getting injured.
And also, given that he keeps getting injured, who lets him do high jump? This episode starts off with him doing the high jump. And, like, he clears the first jump easily because he's very athletic. And so he goes, put the bar higher. And he clears that bar, but he bounces off the crash pad onto his face first, I think.
Yeah.
And then they go up one more, and he bounces and goes all the way over and lands on his back. And then they raise it one last time, and he does like a fucking triple somersault off the crash pad to land on his face again.
I feel like those are supposed to be like soft landing bits, not springy.
Yes!
Given literally every other depiction of the fucking things, you fall into floof, not...
Yeah, you don't bounce. You bounce a little bit, but you don't bounce that far.
It's not a springboard.
In A Mangaka's Weirdly Wonderful Workplace, episode 7, we finally get to see Nekonote, Futami's second assistant, on screen, because Futami and Hasan realize they don't know anything about her, And so they video call her.
With no plan, basically.
With no plan at all. And Nekanote assumes she's in trouble and starts crying before they're able to explain, no, we just wanted to, see you because we've been working together for months. And eventually Nekanote reveals that she is a 16-year-old NEET. But I really hope that they do manage to get her to come visit by the end of the show, because she's all over the opening and the ending and stuff, and she seems cute.
Yeah.
But most of this episode is just steering into the lesbianism hard.
So incredibly hard.
Because Toko, the shogi master who Futami consults with for advice on writing a shogi manga, comes to visit, and Futami has a normal reaction to this and is like, should I change my sheets? And it's like, if you're planning to sleep with her, I guess.
Which she is staying over, but also, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Her first 3 thoughts are, I need to clean this place up. I need to take a shower. I need to change my sheets.
Yeah. And then she loses out to Hasan and Nashida anyway.
Yep.
Both of whom make moves on Toko. I think Hasan's going to win that one. Mostly because Nashida should not ever stop taking L's.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of that character is to take L's. And then Futami goes for dinner with Sato, her editor, and the other 2 editor characters that we've been introduced to tag along. One of whom last episode was trying to recruit Futami anyway. And the other one, who has been Sato's friend at work, starts pressuring Futami to take on a second manga that is a spin-off of the manga that she was an assistant on before she got her own serialization. And it turns into this 3-way fight between the 3 editors over Futami, and she's sitting there just kind of gross smirking about being popular and being fought over, and it's great. She has entered her main character era.
Yep.
And because she has entered her main character era, that means that Sato can go yandere on her.
I don't know if that's how I would describe it, but definitely more possessive.
I mean, she's not locking Futami in a cage yet, but she does.
Yeah, but we've seen that episode of Shirobako. It could happen.
I was going to argue, but I can't argue.
I'm right!
You're banned from being right. We've been over this.
No, I'm only banned from being right if it's not funny.
Great, the Roger Rabbit principle. Anyway, after the credits, they're leaving the restaurant and they're all a bit tipsy. And the other 2 make one last attempt to persuade Futami that she should work with them. And Sato grabs her and goes, no, it's been decided. Futami's going to work on a second manga with me. She's mine.
Yo, there's also, Futami and Sato had a moment outside where Futami was just like, I have a lot of ideas for a manga.
Right.
I just don't think I can do more than one at a time.
Yes.
Because I have, some unique experiences, or at least interesting experiences. I know sign language. And Sato's just like, what? And she's like, yeah, someone in my family is hearing impaired.
Yeah.
And we could make it work without sign language, but I felt like I wanted to respect them by learning it.
It's a really cool moment, that. I really like that.
Yeah. And she's right that, making a manga out of that experience and the emotions behind it would be a good pitch.
Yeah.
And then also a family comedy with an alien.
Yeah. It's not clear whether it's an alien family or a human family that an alien is being adopted into, but I want to see that second one.
Yeah.
They should do that as the spin-off of this manga.
Yeah, she's going to reinvent Mork and Mindy is the thing, I think.
Japanese Mork and Mindy.
Yep.
Mork-san and Mindy-chan.
I hate that.
In straight bullshit, as opposed to lesbian bullshit, there's My Awkward Senpai, episode 7.
Yep.
Which, the actual through line of this episode is about Kanawa's accent. Because she has one of the, rustic Japanese accents that comes out when she's emotional.
Dialect, not accent, but...
Yes, dialect. Kamigawa has been noticing it and has started to realize that there are times where she said things and he's misunderstood because she was using a dialect word.
Mm-hmm. The particular one that got translated was can you fix this for me? Hands him a marker. And she meant, can you put this back for me?
Yes.
But that didn't come across to him, so...
Yes, he was like, it's not broken, it's fine.
Yeah.
So the through line here is Kamigawa realizing that Kanawa expressing herself in dialect to him is significant, because we learn that Mio has despite the fact that Mio is now friends with Kanawa, she's never heard her speak in dialect. But sat on top of that is, this is a fake boyfriend episode.
Yeah.
Because Kanawa's mum is calling her to hassle her about having a boyfriend. And to get the call over with, she tells her mum, actually, I do have a boyfriend. And then she has to admit to Kamigawa that she doesn't. Whereupon he offers to pose as her boyfriend.
Yep.
Which, you know, if you are going to sail into the storm...
Better to do it enthusiastically.
I guess so. She also, like, they meet at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And he's buying vegetables to cook with. And they get talking about how good it is to cook. And Kanawa's like, I mustn't admit to him that I was just here buying ready meals. And they get into talking about cooking. And she talks about, like, you know, do you ever want to have a girlfriend at home to cook for you? And he says, you know, there's something really nice about the idea of somebody cooking for me. So she goes home and tries to learn to cook for him. It's idiots. They'll figure it out.
Eventually.
Speaking of they'll figure it out, I mean, actually, they kind of have figured it out in Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota, episode 7, which starts with Valentine's Day. And, like, a montage of people giving Valentine's gifts, and it does all the standard jokes. One of Ota's friends has got loads of chocolate and the other has none. And Kashiwada hasn't given anything to Oota yet. And then she trails after him at lunch with a bag and tells him, I've got something to give you. And she pulls something out of the bag and hands it to him, and it's an eraser that he dropped in class. And then she pulls something else out of the bag and hands it to him, and it's the class logbook that he's responsible for that day. And clearly she has a third thing, and she bottles out of giving it to him. And I was ready to be super mad about this episode.
You
but no,
really were.
She goes back to the class and hangs the bag, the inner bag with the extra thing, on his desk. So he finds it, and yay, she gave him a Valentine's gift. Then, to cover the passage of time, there's an arc about, effectively, they form a study group, and in the study group, just an incredible, one of those beautifully simple visual gags, where, you know, they get to the library, and Tabuchi's mad because the only spaces for her and Kashiwada to study are at the table with Oota and his friends. And she assumes that Oota and his friends are going to be rowdy. But they all sit down and they start studying, and it's very quiet, and they seem very focused, and all these shots are from the shoulders up. And eventually Tabuchi goes, they're really quiet. Maybe they are studying diligently. And she looks around, and the camera pans down like 8 inches, and they're playing cards.
Yep.
Kashiwada included. And Tabuchi tries really hard to be mad, but she does eventually end up playing cards, and then they all fail the test, except Sata.
Yep.
Which I guess it's appropriate that the boy whose name is a hard drive data standard passes the test. But then it's White Day, right? And Oota tries to get revenge. And he turns up with a bag, and he starts handing Kashiwada stuff from the bag. And the first things he hands her are bugs. And then he has a third thing, and it does a flashback where he went to his sister, who, remember, is a menace.
The best.
And was like, hey, I need ideas for pranks that I can play on a friend. And she immediately susses out that this is a prank Valentine's gift for Kashiwada. And she gives him a box and says, you mustn't open this until Kashiwada has opened it in front of you. And he goes, great, my sister's really good at pranks. This'll really get Kashiwada. Kashiwada opens the box, and in it is just a piece of paper saying, I love you from Oota.
It's so good.
It's so good.
You got punked. It's so good.
And then in his outrage at the realization, he accidentally hands it to the teacher.
Yep. Like, while he's grabbing it to get it out of her line of sight, and just flaps it in the teacher's face.
And then, like, it leaves off on that, and it's like, well, okay, he gave her bugs, and his sister pranked him with a love note that obviously Kashiwada is going to be able to tell he's not sincere about. And that's kind of a bummer way for this to end. And the credits play, and then after the credits, there's a shot of Kashiwada eating the bugs. And it turns out that they are actually chocolate bugs.
Yeah, they're prank gifts, and it's like, oh, this is white chocolate. This is a little chocolate cake. Fucking adorable.
Perfect move. Perfect move. Did make me really want white chocolate bugs, though.
This is not surprising.
I'm sorry about me. Tell me about A Wild Last Boss Appeared.
Okay, so last time on A Wild Last Boss Appeared, they went to the city of the Heaven Winged, and it was split up into white and black districts, and there was a civil war brewing. The party split up to go investigate. Ares, the femboy sheep, tried to convince Aigokeros, the goat of the 12 heavenly companions, to rejoin them.
Aigokeros sounds like an angel-ass name. It's really funny that he's a goat instead.
Well, he's a devil.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's working with the devils, since he is apparently a devil himself, to basically go like, oh, our master is back. That's cool. Actually, though, I'm going to keep trying to kill the heroes. Like, it would be nice if I could team up with our master again, but I want to focus on getting rid of all of the obstacles in her way, so bye. And Ares is just like, I don't know whether I should tell Luffus about this. I'll think about it. Libra the Maid fights Jupiter, one of the demon generals, basically to a standstill, assesses his fighting style entirely, and goes, next time I see that dude, he's fucking dead. And then Dina trails a guy. She's waiting for someone and sees a guy who's like sneaking around and trails him to a white wing supremacist meeting, which I have to very firmly enunciate because that could have, you know, if I misspeak, that could have other implications for several syllables in that. It's not wrong.
Same kind of assholery, right?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, they're basically planning on like, we've got a contact with a guy named Jupiter, not Jupiter, Jupiter, to like launch an attack on the mixed wings whenever. We're just waiting for the orders, basically, because we can't trust this king to like represent us properly. So Dina eavesdrops on this meeting, and then they all meet back up again and go over it, and it's like, yeah, I fought a guy named Jupiter. I trailed a guy and they talked about Jupiter, and Luffus goes, those are probably the same person, huh?
Yeah. It sure does seem like it.
I was so ready for them to be like, what could be the connection between these two facts? But no, she was just like, those are the same person. That's spelled the same way. And basically, like, the entire party, aside from Luffus, is just like, we should probably support the mixed wings and unilaterally wipe out the white wings, because everyone in her party is also aware that Luffus was persecuted by the white wings in her youth. So she has, like, this history with the racism because her wings are black.
Right.
She's in disguise as a human, but her legacy of the Black-Winged Conqueror still remains in like a temple that has a bronze statue of her with the zealot that I talked about last time.
Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, there's a scene where Luffus makes a bunch of ammo for the maid, and then the maid slurps it up with her dress.
You're not kidding about the schlorp, right?
Yeah, no.
In Chosty Cord, we concluded that maids are a kind of slime.
Dude, that's slime slander, which you can't even, like, portmanteau properly, because that's just slander.
Slinder.
Slinder?
Isn't that the character out of Ghostbusters?
Fuck off. Anyway, because Libra has been in storage for 200 years and has been defending a tomb, she's out of ammo, and her guns are all out of whack. And then Libra's just like, hey, so I can't sense Dina in, like, a 500-kilometer radius? What? What's her deal?
Yes.
And Libra's just like, I kind of suspect that something's up with her because no one has invented more teleportation magic in the last 200 years, and no one knew how to use X-Gate. Like, the title of the MMO was X-Gate, and very few characters could use that spell.
Yeah.
So her existence as like a background character who just happens to have memory manipulation and insane teleport magic is a little suspicious.
Yeah.
So they, like, when she gets back, they literally put her in an interrogation room with Libra and Luffus, and they try and grill her about it, and nothing comes up. But there's a scene where Jupiter is, like, beating the shit out of a bunch of trees because he is mad that the maid has his number. And a woman from the, like, devil organization shows up and goes, hey, so I can deal with the maid for like 20 minutes. I can buy you 20 minutes and you need to cause as much trouble as possible and start the civil war in that 20 minutes. And then it cuts to the scene with the interrogation. And Dina's just like, well, I can use X-Gate, but it needs like the consent of people and like the trust of people that I use it on if it's not me. But I can use it on inanimate objects and animals just fine. So like I could demonstrate it to Libra right now and we could go sort out all the weaponry and stuff that we got from the tomb. And then they leave after Libra says, I estimate there's about a 5% chance that anything happens in the 20 minutes that I'm gone.
Oh.
The episode
shit.
title is Hey? 5%? Seriously? Because the instant Luffy lays down, there's an explosion outside, and then the episode ends.
See, you put Hey 5% seriously in the notes, and I've been looking at it, assuming that, like, 5% question exclamation mark was censored swearing.
No, it is just 5%? Seriously? Explosion.
Nice.
And that's where the episode ended. And now there is a lot more material to be suspicious of Dina about.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay.
Your turn.
My turn. Wandance, episode 6. It is time for the first dance competition that Cabo and Wanda are going to be in. So I spent the entire episode stressed out of my gourd because I was sure that Cabo was going to get stage fright and have to fight his way through it on stage, which, like, I love that in anime about performance, but also I hate it and it hurts. But most of this episode is about them handling the pre-show nerves, particularly when, like, it's actually their turn to go into the green room and warm up and stuff, because Cabo realizes he's got bad nerves because it's like his feet go kind of cold and numb. And then he looks over at Wanda, and she is rolling around on the floor in various creature positions to pat the soles of her feet. Because she's having a similar physical manifestation. It's adorable, but it is wild. Also, at the start of the show, they're all milling around in the lobby of the venue in their dance teams. And Wanda is one of the last on their team to show up. And when she shows up on the club president, creeches over to her and, like, greets her as if she's a puppy. And Wanda responds as if she's a puppy and sprouts ears and a tail that wags.
Good.
I don't know where that came from. That's not been established before at all, but it's great. They perform quite late in the competition, and so there's a whole bunch of other performances first, including like a showcase by the judges. And then their team goes on, and their performance goes great. Pretty much perfect. Looks amazing. Cabo does falter slightly at one point, but he falters slightly at one point, not because he's getting nerves, but because he's doing a difficult maneuver, and Wanda's able to cover for him. It handles the performance experience really, really well. And it was like, oh, so this show is not actually about performance and anxiety. It's about anxiety cropping up in all different contexts. Because the drama is shifting here from being about the dancing or the performing to focus more specifically on the interpersonal skills. Cabo makes a very bad first impression on one of the judges because the judge enters the building and everybody recognizes him and he's like saying, good morning, hello, Otakare, etc. And he walks past Wanda and Cabo, and Wanda says good morning, and he notes that the judge notes that Wanda looks like she might be worth paying attention to. Cabo's standing next to her, and he's trying to get a good morning out, but he's stammering really badly. Even after Wanda pops up to be like, Cabo's just having trouble getting the words out, which he does several times this episode. Like, every time that Cabo kind of freezes up with someone, Wanda pops up to kind of bail him out of it. There's also a weird bit during the competition where the judges are watching one of the other schools and being kind of snotty and snobbish because the school don't conform to, like, the expected formalities of Japanese high school competitions. So there's all this emphasis on that aspect of things, the kind of networking, social manners stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense that the show would go there. And in some ways, I'm glad it did because it meant I got to relax about the dance itself.
Yeah.
But also, it is a swerve. I was sure that the dance was going to be, the same routine as he's done when he's been practicing dance with various people where he's kind of frozen up in the middle. But no, he gets to be a really good dancer and really impress people.
Good. I'm glad.
Speaking of characters who are really good and impress people...
really funny pivot from I don't know what the appeal here is to...
Well, okay, so this is Little Miss Vampire Can't Suck Right, episode 6, which I did end our discussion of this last episode by saying, like, this show puzzles me, like, in a genre sense, because so much of it is, yes, it's a rom-com, but so much of it is just everybody loves Luna. And we start out this episode with a journalist and her photographer have come to the school to shadow Luna and take a bunch of photos of her in class, which, is that a thing?
Like, if you're doing a highlight on a particular person of interest, like, if they're a public figure, I would imagine that would be the same. Like, if you were doing, like, some sort of local idol kind of situation, you would probably do something like that, even for a high school student.
Yeah.
But, like, it is a weird little, It's
so weird. But what it turns out is that Luna has graduated from being just the school's Moe Blob to being the entire town's Moe Blob. We find out that she's been, like, helping old ladies cross roads and getting blown away because she was carrying an umbrella in the rain and the wind.
It was specifically a parasol.
Sorry, yes.
And she was carrying it and then got blown away because she got into her small form and couldn't weigh it down.
Right, yeah.
And couldn't fix this
Specifically
either.
A parasol that she was carrying because she thought it made her look more like a cool vampire.
Yep.
She also got stuck in a tree because she climbed up to rescue a cat, and then she got stuck in the tree because she looked down and suddenly it was very high up and she was scared.
And she forgot to keep her wings out because, again, she can fly.
Yeah.
What a creature.
Anyway, Luna goes off at lunch to be interviewed by the journalist and learn this shattering truth about herself.
Yeah.
And so Otari and Sakuma and Misa are having lunch together without her, and they make a group chat, which they call Caretakers, which is adorable. And then there's some stuff about Luna wanting to see Otari's finished artwork, and he says he doesn't keep any of that at the school, it's all at his home, and he invites Luna to his home, which is very sweet, and she's really excited. But it turns out that Otari's home is actually the family liquor store.
Yep.
And they're like sake brewers. And they don't have any tea in, so he serves her miso soup.
Because they also produce soy sauce and miso. So.
Yeah. And Luna goes, oh, this tastes like Otari's blood.
Insane comparison, girl.
And she imagines having a meal of Otari's blood with miso soup as a side dish.
And then hits with a classic, I could have this every day.
Yep. And then they are talking about traveling, and Luna apparently doesn't travel a lot. Like, Otari assumes that she would have traveled a lot, but she hasn't because she gets too hungry. So Otari's like, well, what if we go on a trip together? If we bring along our friends, then there'll be multiple people there for you to feed off. And so probably they're going on holiday soon, which will be adorable, because everything about this show is adorable.
Yep.
Anyway, we are now entering the raunch zone. Because, my God, did a few of these shows have some sudden raunchy moments that we were maybe not expecting. Starting with Dusk Beyond the End of the World, episode 6.
Yeah.
So they're at this town of scholars because Akira is looking for books by Toasa. And also they're after a children's book that Amoru's parents had. So they want to get into a library. And they're traveling with Yokarata, who is the guy they met at the hot springs, and he produces a key to the library for them because he works here and he's friends with the librarian and he filches her key.
Friends. Yes, he's friends with the librarian.
I'm getting to that. Let me pace my description of what happens. They're in the town and they realize that Yugure's evil sisters are here. So Yugure flies off to lead them away, so the writers can give Akira and Amoru some time together, which they use to go on a cute shopping date. And they find an alley of booksellers who all have various forbidden books for sale, but not the ones they're after. So they do sneak into the library, and we see that while they are sneaking into the library, Yokarata is seducing the librarian. And look, the scene of him seducing her is very sexy. Like, it's the good shit. But it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
It was pretty, it's not explicitly pornographic, but it's pretty explicit.
Yeah.
So he's distracting the librarian. They're sneaking into the library. They find their way into the forbidden bookstore, but the librarian comes back and is revealed to be a book dominatrix. Like, She considers her books her lovers, and also she says it's better that I destroy them than let anybody read them. And to try to intimidate her into letting them go, Amoru picks up the lantern that's got a flame in it and is like, I'm going to burn these books if you don't let us go with the 2 that we want. And the librarian gets mad and attacks her, and she drops the lantern, and it falls and sets the room on fire. And the 2 books that they're after are on opposite sides of the room as a way of setting up that they're going to have to choose one or the other.
Yep.
And, like, that feels like a downgrade for this show. Like, just dropping into cheap philosophy thought experiment shit, basically.
Yeah. Like, they could have done that in a way that wasn't so fucking blatant.
Yeah.
And it might have hit different, but,
Yeah. Talking about blatant, in My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me, episode 7, we open on Aki having a sex dream about Mashiro, from which he wakes to find Iroha on top of him in bed, shoving a milk ice in his mouth.
Yep.
Because he's overslept, because things are getting to be a bit too much for him.
Yeah, the entire episode is essentially about him going, too many things that are outside of my norm are happening, and it's throwing me off. I'm losing my mind.
Yes.
Please help.
So he gets to school, and Mashiro is acting mad at him in, like, body language and how she talks to him. But they're texting back and forth, and in the text messages, she's really lovey-dovey, and he has no idea what's going on there.
It's like, you work in otaku spheres, you know what a tsundere is. Come on now.
But he thinks that tsunderes only happen in fiction, and he doesn't realize that he's in one.
Yep.
He's discussing the latest script that their writer, who unbeknownst to them is Mashiro, who sat next to them, with Oz, and the script has completely the wrong tone because it's really lovey-dovey and sweet for their horror game that they're making, because Mashiro is in love and she can't write on tone anymore. And then he asks Iroha for help dealing with Mashiro's confession. And he says something like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is the first time anyone's ever confessed to me. And Iroha gets real mad because, like, I don't know whether we've seen her confess to him, but she definitely has, right?
She definitely has, and also she has done it on screen, but he took it as a bit and she backed off because of it.
Yes. And she puts a curse on him. She's like, I'm going to curse you so that everyone's disconcertingly sweet to you. And then the teacher, who advises the drama club that are trying to recruit more actors for their play, the teacher summons him to the guidance room, which is where they go to discuss her contributions to the game as artist. And for the first time ever, she's turned in art ahead of the deadline. And she's being super sweet to him about it. And it's like, I wanted to do my best for you, and so on, in exchange for a favour. Which clearly she wants him to be in the play or to produce the play or something. But he's so weirded out by apparently Iroha's curse coming true and everything else that's going weird. He basically has a panic attack.
He has the equivalent of, like, you know, if you only eat, like, really, really healthy, specific stuff for way too long, and you get the craving for anything else, your stomach just doesn't know what to do with that, and you kind of just have a bad time. It's the equivalent of that, but for his psyche, because his autistic routine got disrupted.
Yeah, this boy is in a hell that, to be fair to him, is not entirely of his own making.
Yeah.
But also.
Speaking of hells of one's own making, the dark history of the reincarnated Villainess. Let's go.
Episode 6. Yes, so in this segment of the story, there's a kidnapper going around snatching beautiful girls. Iana is told that the fact that he targets beautiful girls means she probably won't be targeted.
Fucking bastard.
Such a rude moment. But Konoha is being targeted, and there's this unit of particularly beautiful cops, the Hydrangea unit, who are investigating, and suspicion falls on Iana because she is caught listening at the door to one of these cops talking to
She's not even
Konoha.
listening at the door. She leaves because she's just like, well, this isn't, like, I feel fucking terrible for whatever reason, and also, this isn't about me, apparently. And then she comes back and is listening from the next room.
Yeah.
Which, even more inexplicable that the guy figured her out. Like, he was immediately just like, oh, someone's listening from next door.
Yeah.
Fucking creature.
And what Iana realizes is that this segment, the fantasy of being a kidnapping target and being protected by beautiful police officers is just a fantasy that she entertained repeatedly, and she never wrote it down, so she can't remember the details, so she can't outmaneuver it.
Mm-hmm.
And when Shino, the police officer, catches her eavesdropping, he interrogates her on the couch, which involves him climbing on top of her, pinning her down by the throat. This does feel like the sort of thing that, as a teen neat writer, Iana would have gone for.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. She does get rescued from that.
Yep.
And then she and Konoha go to a party. It's at the house of, like, a particularly beautiful princess.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to talk to Iana. Like, she tries to, like, join conversations and everybody just scatters. Except for one, a new girl called Manoa Camellia, who is also kind of an outcast, and clearly has some shit going on, but we know not what.
Mm-hmm.
But she befriends Iana. And also Iana realizes that initially she only wrote male characters to be around Konoha in her story. And when she did start adding female characters, she didn't know any women except for, like, this one lesbian who lived next door.
Which is so fucking much to process.
And it does make sense also that, given that this whole story revolves around Konoha, that it would be lesbians.
Yeah.
But also, that being the reason is
really good.
Wild. It's great.
Just chef's kiss.
We are now leaving the raunchy zone.
Yep.
Bizarrely, given the next one is Past the Monster Meat, Milady.
Yep.
Episode 7. A lot of this episode is backstory. We get a lot of Roger backstory. So he's always had this problem of, like, magic overloads that he has to, like, blow off. But apparently he used to accidentally blow holes in the palace walls a lot.
Yep.
Sure, that sounds plausible. But this has left him with a fairly fatalistic self-destructive streak. And he's, like, vowed to give his life defending the kingdom and shit. And this horrifies Melfi because she's in love with him. And she's like, no, I want you to live for me. And she says this with such passion that he is overcome and gives her a forehead kiss. And then she is overcome. And then they are attacked by a massive flock of giant birds.
Yep.
Because, of course, they are.
I was so looking forward to them actually getting to the place where, ostensibly, the series is going, which is, his domain. But nope.
Gotta fight birds.
It's an RPG jerk bird situation. Get fucked.
Yes. Speaking of get fucked.
God.
The pain.
Watari-kun. Oh.
Watari-kun's blank is about to collapse. Episode 20.
So many things are about to collapse.
Yes. So, Watari's school are on their school trip, and Satsuki's school are also on their school trip at the same hotel. And we finally get to see Watari being as unhinged as the other characters in this show, because he is desperate to talk to Satsuki. And she really sets a hard boundary, and really does her best to keep him from seeing her. Even though he has the photo that she wants, and he tells her that, he gets a note to her, and then they're passing notes back and forth through an intermediary the whole day, and this annoys everyone around them. And it gets to the point where Watari exchanges uniforms with the go-between so he can pose as the go-between to infiltrate Satsuki's side of the school trip to get to speak to her, which is out of control, frankly. But she agrees to speak with him, and he takes her to a sunflower field, because in the photo, they're standing in front of a sunflower field as kids. And he gives her the photo. And her line on receiving the photo is, if I'd gotten this earlier, I wouldn't have said I loved you.
Yeah.
And I can't with this show. I can't. We talked about this before, but, this is a show, it's a high school romance drama comedy show. But unlike almost all such shows, the characters are poor and precarious. And it really puts that on the line. And that is how you get to have characters say stuff like that and have it land. When the material stuff is there, when the material foundation of the drama is there.
Yeah.
And there's still 6 episodes to go.
Yeah, the noise you made when I said, well, there's only 6 more episodes left, was there's 6 more episodes left? And it's just like,
yeah.
There's so much that can go wrong in 6 episodes.
There is! We haven't even picked up the thread about Satsuki's mother at all yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so scared.
Mm.
In lighter news? Somehow.
Big question mark on that one.
This Monster Wants to Eat Me, episode 7. So, at the end of the last episode, Shiori and Hinako were at the beach, and a storm rolled in that was clearly supernatural, and they look out to sea, and there's just a bunch of hands coming up from the sea. And Shiori explains that these are the ghosts of humans who died at sea, and Hinako's looking out at them going, my parents and brother died at sea. And clearly, like, thinking about just going out to join them. And indeed, there's a shot in the OP of her being dragged underwater by a bunch of hands.
Mm.
Shiori manages to kind of head that off at the pass, and they're sat under an awning, sheltering from the rain, and Hinako's top comes off her shoulder, and she has really bad scarring across her shoulder from the accident where the rest of her family died. And it's the first time that Shiori has seen them.
Mm.
And Hinako asks her, did it spoil your appetite? Just like straight out, that's the first thing that she says. Which, like, the whole central metaphor being eating of this show is wild still. Anyway, they get back from the beach and they're hanging out with Miko. And Miko says to Hinako that she's involved in management of the basketball club. And they have a training camp coming up, and none of the other managers can make it, and would Hinako come along to help? And Shiori starts talking as if she's going too, and Miko gets mad because she doesn't want Shiori to go. But Hinako insists on Shiori coming along. And when Miko gets mad about that, Shiori head grabs her, which is very good. Always head grab the aggressive puppy. But they get to basketball training camp, and we're introduced to a new girl, Ayame, who is... like, she's a part-timer at the hostel that they're staying at, and she reminds Hinako of her mother, and she's incredibly ominous. And the whole mood at this place is, like, the vibes are so fucked. Shiori and Miko have a long conversation where Shiori just takes Miko apart over the fact that Miko wants things for Hinako that Hinako doesn't want. It's not clear what those are. Like, obviously Miko is in love with Hinako, but also there's so much else going on because of the yokai side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shiori is having a conversation with Hinako, and Hinako very tentatively floats the idea of considering Shiori a friend rather than just as somebody who she's hanging out with for convenience so that she can die. And Shiori scorns the idea. It's like, no, we're not going to be friends. This is not about us being friends. You're my food. And this arrangement is beneficial for us both. And then Shiori leaves, and the episode ends with Ayame walking out of the shadows towards Hinako.
Oh boy.
Some shit's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do some brief mentions.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask for one final thing? Episode 8 is all nonsense all the time. Scarlet is revealed to also be a saint because secretly there are 2 saints, so that one can be a backup if the other loses their powers, as has happened.
Yeah, good thing.
Scarlet finally gets an excuse to beat the shit out of Dios after he's been harassing her for like 2 episodes, and doesn't get a chance to because when that happens he teleports away. We learn that Terenetsa has stolen Diana's saint powers.
Yep.
And also that Terenetsa was straight up summoned by the goddess Palmia as part of a bizarre love revenge strat to get back at Scarlet's god.
Yep. It's good old Greek god bullshit going on.
It's proper Greek god bullshit. Palmia is mad at
Kronos,
the god of time that Scarlet is bonded to, because she's in love with him and he's not interested in her and gave some of his power to humans. We learn all this, by the way, because Scarlet is summoned to heaven to meet God.
Yeah. Also, sorry, Chronoa, not Kronos. I was thinking of the other, Hades 2 exists and has been talked about way too much.
Yeah. Anyway, Scarlet goes to heaven and meets God, and he powers her up and also explains all this backstory. And Scarlet with more power is great. Give this girl all the power. I want to see her punch planets by the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
In Touring After the Apocalypse, episode 7, Yoko and Irie go to the maintenance facility that they were directed to in the last episode, and it's all automated, so they still haven't met a living human, and more stuff happens that makes clear that Yoko is definitely like a robot or an artificial human or something. we learn that before the apocalypse, there was a permanent habitat in space and a permanent base on the moon. So maybe there are still humans there? And they're at this place that is a science museum, basically. The maintenance facility is accessed via a phone booth that's a secret elevator in the grounds of this science museum.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the episode, they go and sit in the planetarium. And it works just fine as a planetarium because the roof's collapsed. So they're just sitting in planetarium chairs looking up at the sky, which was a good bit. In Alma-chan Wants to Be a Family, episode 7, Enji's sister Toki is back, and she's a curse on gadgets, and she almost breaks Alma by drawing...
a bear.
Well, making drawings so cursed that they fuck with Alma's, image recognition.
Yep.
And break her.
Definitely a bear.
Yes. Suzume blows up the bath in their bathroom, working on some robot or other, so they all go to the bathhouse together, and Neon and Makina get into a milk drinking competition at the bathhouse because there's this tradition in Japan that you drink milk at the bathhouse after having a bath. They chug 8 bottles of milk each. And then there's a parent visit day at Alma's school, and Enji and Suzume go and they dress up really smart for it. And, it has to be said quite dashingly, although Enji does somehow manage to have, a fashion lab coat.
Yeah. I feel like if you are the sort of person who needs to own multiple lab coats anyways, and are probably getting awards for stuff, at some point you probably get a fashion lab coat if you're that kind of dork.
Enji is that kind of dork, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever won an award, but he definitely thinks he should.
He made a robot little girl. I'm pretty sure he's won awards at this point.
No, a huge chunk of the premise is the reason that they're working in just a random flat is because they got chucked out of all the universities for being crackpots.
I don't know if
That's established in the first episode. Anyway, it turns out that Alma is now running the school as an AI. And there's a bit about how she's gone for full AI in the classroom, which we winced at in the same way that we winced at the bit where she was the Gen AI system for a mangaka.
Yeah.
But that overloads her as soon as anything starts to go wrong. So they have to scale it back to the point where she makes the teachers' jobs easier and eliminates their overwork. But the system is still manageable, which sounds heavenly. That's the vision with AI assistants. It's never going to happen because it's not how the industry works, but at least the vision is right.
Yeah.
Again, in a total swerve, there's Hands Off Sawaranaide Kotesashi-kun, episode 7.
Yeah, also, I have to call out your gamer cred on this first line. You say, Chio gets the massage, it's painful, she envisions it as you've written envisaged as BDSM. It's a Dragon Quest bit. In her vision, she's cosplaying as the Dragon Quest III warrior.
Oh!
Because she's a gamer.
Right. Okay.
My girlfriend, my fiance, my wife, my love, you're a fake gamer. But yeah, she pictures herself as the classic Dragon Quest III warrior.
Clad in bikini armor.
Yep.
And as the massage goes on, the armor is broken off her and she's envisaging herself basically crucified while this is going on.
And getting hammered.
Getting hammered, yes.
And then she manages to get through it. He praises her determination and calls her cute. And she's just okay, I'm going to bed now. Bye. And pushes him out of her room and then goes, he's not my type at all. He's not my type at all. Oh God, I think I have a crush on him. I've only crushed on 2D boys before.
Yes.
Help.
Yeah, so in the last episode, there was a bit where she was dead certain that she wouldn't fall for him because she's had lots of relationships with boys. And at the end of this episode, it turns out that all her relationships with boys were in dating sims.
Yep. Specifically, Otome gacha games. Which is oof.
Yep.
Girl. Anyway, speaking of oof, Gnosia episode 6 introduces Jonas, the captain of the ship, and he sucks.
He's horrible. He's so creepy.
The line that got spread around of him was, quote, the ideal woman is one who does not speak.
Yeah.
And die, actually.
Yes. Meanwhile, Yuri is getting really good at the logic of the game, of figuring out who the Gnosias are. But in this episode, he gets outmaneuvered socially, so even though he knows the answer, he can't convince anyone of the answer.
Yeah, he did that, beginner thing in games where you figure out the logic of something and you're, really focused on one thread, and you forget that you have to convince everyone else, too.
Yes. In episode 7 of 2200 Cat Country, Like, it's just all about Mugishima's dad spoiling Sora, and then Sora encouraging him to indulge his vices as repayment.
Yep.
Which, like, that is what cats would do if they could talk.
Yep. I mean, that's what cats do now. They don't even talk.
But yeah, anyway, older stuff. We didn't watch super much older stuff this week.
You and I didn't watch any older stuff specifically because we were just in various states of busy.
Yes. But we did start watching the Apothecary Diaries with Tara, watched the first 3 episodes. I was promised a creature. I was not disappointed. Mao Mao is such a creature.
I love her so much.
She's great.
No one's surprised that I like the creature cat girl.
Mm-hmm. She is pretending to be ignorant and uneducated while working as a basically slave, like an attendant in the harem palace of the emperor. And she, at one point, says pretending to be ignorant makes everything easier in this world. And once she has failed to pretend to be ignorant and has been taken into a special role as poison taster for the empress's wife who's just birthed his heir.
Concubine.
Sorry, yes, she's a concubine. She's bored because she's only allowed to be a poison taster and they keep trying to protect her from having to do anything else.
Because they had a major misunderstanding because she loves testing things on her arm.
Yes.
And they saw the bandages and were like, oh, I bet her family is abusing her. We need to treat her well. And no, she just throws snakes at her arm sometimes.
And she sat there in her room in, like, relative opulence, bored out of her mind, and she says, if there was a venomous snake or something, at least I could experiment. Which is great. Also great is Jinshi, the deuteragonist, who tricks Mao Mao into revealing that she can read by summoning every girl with freckles in the entire facility to his office and holding up a sign that says, you with the freckles stay here. And she doesn't catch on fast enough when all the other girls leave.
Yep, because they're told they'll leave and no one else can read.
Yeah. And then she's wondering, like, when he's interacting with her, her first reaction is, who is this arrogant-looking woman? Because he's very pretty.
Yeah, he walks into the room and she goes, who's this arrogant-looking woman? And then he speaks and she's just like, oh, eunuch. Okay.
Yes. And he's very, very pretty, and he's been put there, given this job as being in charge of the harem palace, as a test for all the concubines of their faithfulness to the emperor, which is fucked up.
Yep.
But he, you know, he has bishy power of, like, he can look at women and they swoon, and it does not work at all on Mao Mao. And he is so into the scorn that she pours on him every time he tries this.
Yeah, his attendant's just like, can you please stop, like, looking at him like that? He gets turned on every time. I don't want to deal with that.
It's great. And then in the 3rd episode, she makes aphrodisiacs and leaves some of them lying around, and the other ladies in waiting get into them and are found in
a melty puddle.
What could be diplomatically described as a cuddle puddle. Anyway, Mao Mao's response to this is to lift up the nearest one's kimono and go, well, they didn't go all the way, so it's fine. Because, again, creature.
Yep.
And then finally, with Tara, I watched Mobile Suit Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam Soldiers of Sorrow, which is the 2nd movie drawn from the original series. And I was kind of struggling all weekend with how I wanted to sum this up, because I don't want to spend too long on it, but there is a really important point that I want to make. The short version of which is that I think Gundam is better than Evangelion now, which is spicy, I realise. But there's a classic moment in Eva where, fairly early on, Shinji runs away from Nerve, right? He goes AWOL because he's traumatized and overwhelmed by what he's doing. And then that moment is so important to the structure of, like, Ava's psychological journey for Shinji that the mecha shows that were most formative for me when it comes to mecha as a genre, which were the Studio Bones trio of shows, The Mars Daybreak, Razafon, and Eureka 7, they all do this exact bit. You know, in Ava, it's like 2 episodes. In Eureka 7, it's like 6 or 7 episodes. Goes on a good long while. And it provides some of those shows' most powerful bits. And indeed, the climax of the Eureka 7 arc, which is the end of the 2nd core, episode 26, was for a long time my favourite episode of anime. Like, I would get that episode out specifically and rewatch it when I was feeling too miserable. So it is an important part of these stories. It's one of the most memorable parts of all these stories. And, you know, very directly, those shows take it from Ava. But Ava got it from Gundam, got it from Soldiers of Sorrow. It's not a shot-for-shot reproduction, but it kind of feels like it is. The vibe is so similar. Except that Ava, kind of like FF7, marks this moment, this kind of turning point in Japanese export media. You know, I truly don't know the extent to which this also applies to Japanese media in the domestic context, but in terms of Japanese export media, this is the advent of Cool Japan, and so much of it turns on these stories that are Freudian psychodrama, right? They are about the trauma of adolescence in dysfunctional family environments. And that's fine, and they're powerful stories. And Ava clearly resonated hard for a whole bunch of people in my generation on its strengths as psychodrama. You know, it's not just, hey, cool robot. We do actually get emotionally invested in Shinji. But none of, like, Ava and its imitators, none of those are war stories, right? None of them have, like, anything recognizably like a conventional war. And so when Amuro goes AWOL from the White Base, he actually takes the Gundam with him and buries it in the desert. Like, there's a shot of him patting sand down on top of something, and you look close and it's like, oh, that's the Gundam's head. How did one boy bury an entire fucking Gundam in the desert? But he does. Amuro's trauma is not purely like Freudian psychosexual trauma. It's war trauma. It's trauma that is as much about the violence that he is being forced to do and the ways that he is being punished both for doing the violence and for not doing it well enough. And I was struggling to figure out how to communicate how seeing that as the origin point of this trope, or as a very clear antecedent of this trope that I love in these other shows, made me feel. And I think the best way to describe it would be like if I was reading war poetry, you know, Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon, W.B. Yeats, poets who had seen horrific things in World War One and were trying to put those to words in poetry. And I came across a line in a war poem and realized that a lyric I loved in a song that I loved as a 17-year-old that got me through tough emotional times of being a teenager had actually been stolen from a war poem. Like, it feels like the fact that this kind of going AWOL arc, and Gundam is not the only antecedent here at all, but it's such a direct line of descent. Gundam, Ava, Rise of Eureka 7, that moment is just more powerful in the more grounded context of a really real robot show. Ava and Co are influenced by Real Robot in very significant ways, but this really shows how much they are using Real Robot aesthetics and tropes to make metaphors for pure psychodrama. And I just think it's stronger to confront the war itself and the psychodrama. So I guess I'm a Gundam convert now.
Wow, I can't believe I have to divorce you now.
Sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, when it gets to stuff like that, it's always a matter of like balancing that versus the rest of the context and content to interests for each person. Like, you could not convince me to watch a Gundam. So the fact that a Gundam is doing this specific thing better, it means nothing to me.
Yeah. And like, I am being simplistic in my characterization of Ava and its descendants. You know, like, there are other contexts where if somebody else characterized those shows this way, I would push back on it. But I think it marks this contrast in a fair way. The only other thing I want to say about strengths of Mobile Suit Gundam is Amuro's got this kinda sorta girlfriend. It's not clear exactly what their relationship is. They're clearly close. Frobo is the character's name. And she looks like a classic shonen anime girlfriend, you know, submissive, docile, etc. But actually, she's a vicious bitch. Like, she's a massive cop. She's constantly, like, hectoring Amuro to be a better soldier and stuff. And that's a big part of why he's so ill at ease and upset and distressed. But again, it's like, this show is more than the cliches that are derived from it in ways that I find really rewarding and powerful.
Things usually are, is the thing.
It's like going back and playing a Dragon Quest and seeing in the light of Dragon Quest all the things that Final Fantasy stole from Dragon Quest. Final Fantasy has other things going on than Dragon Quest, and those are cool things, but also eventually you realize how much it relies on Dragon Quest as foundation.
Yeah, or playing like Dragon Quest after playing Earthbound.
Yeah.
Like, there is a different context here, but it is always kind of weird to see the lineages break down like that. But yeah.
So we're watching That Right is a project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.psky.social, YouTube at youtube.com/slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions. Download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro, and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.